create a virtual machine on Microsoft Azure platform. So I logged into my Microsoft Azure platform as a student account, and what I have to do is I'll go on to all services, right? So you can see here virtual machine, so you can go to home and click virtual machine. So when you click on the virtual machine, you can see the list of virtual machines you have already got in Microsoft Azure. As of now, I have got no virtual machines. So I'm going to create my first virtual machine. So click on virtual machine, and now that takes me to the second step to create the virtual machine. So as you can see, I have got a student subscription, and I'm going to create a new resource group. So if you are not too sure what is a resource group, it's a collections of resources that shares the same life cycle permissions and policies, like sort of like it can be easy to segment certain virtual machines. So I'm going to create a new resource group, and I'll say my first resource, right? So just let's give a name, and then you can give a virtual machine name. I'm going to give VM1, and the location, as we are in Australia, I'm going to pick Asia Pacific is Australia. Let me see, Australia Southeast. All right. Availability options, so you can see availability, automatically distribute the VM across, or just keep it in one location. And then here we are going to select the operating system. On this, as you all know, that if you pick a Microsoft operating system, you need to pay, right? So for example, if I pick that one, you can see it is going to ask you to pay, right? As this is a student account, I have got a credit of $120, so it doesn't ask me here. But what you can do is, you can, if for the testing purpose, you can pick one of the Ubuntu or some other open source where you don't need to pay for the operating system license, right? So let's start with maybe one of the Windows 10 version, and then we'll come back, right? You can do spot instances. They are quite cheap, right? So that's possible that it's only work for the time that you work it. So spot offers unused Azure capacities at a discounted rates, right? Versus pay as you go prices. So it's quite a possible to get it for a cheap price. So you can see here, this is going to cost me around $125 a month if I run this one, right? So again, if I pick maybe an Ubuntu operating system, so for example, let me go and pick Ubuntu generation 2, and if you look at the pricing, it's just trying to pick the pricing. Let's wait here until we load the pricing. That's quite similar. See all sizes. If you go and pick a small size of Ubuntu, that's not going to really cost you a lot. So let's pick maybe a general purpose with 3 GB and a small one. So this is quite cheaper. See here, basic instant $13, right? So you can pick that if you wish, right? Select. So that's going to be quite cheaper, right? So I picked a very simple Ubuntu operating system. Maybe I can just go back and pick a real Windows, as in for this testing purpose only. So let me pick that, right? And then I'm going to create a username as a admin and a password, right? So you just give a password. Oh, it needs to be a big password, so let me go and pick a password. Still must be 12 to 12 and 1 2 3 characters long, 12 to. So I'm going to give maybe, let me give a password. Right. Right, so I've just given really a long password, and here for the public, I've just wanted to remote desktop, so I've enabled the remote desktop, but you can enable even HTTPS, HTTP services as well, right? So enable that and confirm I have an eligible Windows 10 license with multi-tenant hosting, right? If you wish, but I'm just going to skip that one, right? I'll go to the next option. No, never save this password. And here we go to pick the hard disk. So I'm going to pick at this point premium hard disk, or I can pick the standard hard disk, which is quite cheaper, right? Encryption, you can do default encryption at this point, right? So standard escape and create and attach a new disk, right? In my previous step, if you look at it, so the one that I have picked is a 1 GB memory. So if you go back to here, you can see one CPU, one RAM, two disk. This size is 2, right? Which is the basic disk type, right? Um, let's go back. Next. And next, right? You can add configure additional hard disk if you wish, right? Here, this is the option to add extra hard drives, but I'm not going to do it right now because I don't need it now. So move on to the next one. And here we have the virtual network. You can create as many as new virtual networks, but since this is my default new virtual network, so I'm just going to use that with default virtual network, right? If you wish, you can create a new network with the new IP range and all here, right? And the subnet IP I have given here, right? This is your subnet IP. If you wish, you can create a new subnet, right? And you can assign NIC, security group, public ports, all good. Load balancing, no. Let's move on to the management. So management, there's nothing much I'm going to configure. I'm just going to leave everything as it is and go on to advanced. No extensions to install, that's all fine. User data, no. Host group, no. As of now, there's nothing. It's VM generation 2. No tech at this point. Review. Okay, some informations are missing. Let me see what informations are missing. Okay, so under basic we missed some information. Let's see what is missing. Okay, I forgot to tick there, right? Let's move on, and then we are creating. So this is my first virtual machine that we have created using Windows 10 operating system, right? What we can do is we can do a remote desktop to this one. Once it's all created, you can see it's going to cost me around 0.18 AUD per hour. So validation is passed, all good, right? Create, right? So now we are just creating the new virtual machine. So it's initializing my virtual machine. You can see, right? It's initializing. Once it's done, I will go back to my virtual machine and let's do a remote access to that. Or we can just do, we can remote desktop into that and see how does it works. So it does. So you can see it's all created, virtual machine, right? Deployment is in progress, right? Once it's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my remote desktop shortcut and add a new PC here, right? We'll get the IP address and do that, right? So this is my first virtual machines. You can see created virtual networks, public IP address, all created, right? So let's wait for this one to complete it, and then we will check it. Machine has been created and we can see the information about just created virtual machine. So you can see the information here. Disk has got a OS disk is there, the IP address is here, this is your public IP address and this is my private IP address. And of course you can see you can do various things, you can delete, you can stop. An activity log, it will show you what has gone through this virtual machine. Identity and access management, who has got access to what services and resources, and roles and assignments, right? So you can assign various roles here. And if you go under networking, you can see RDP port, HTTP, HTTPS, the actions are allowed, and then you can see the disk. So you can just go through various options here to find about your virtual machine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect to my virtual machine. So using this public IP address given to me. So as you can see, I have got my virtual machine here. So with the public IP address as a test machine, and I'm just going to connect it. And it's going to ask me the username, password, and my password. So the password is right. It's going to connect. Now you can see I'm just connecting to my first Azure virtual machine. So this virtual machine is running on Azure cloud, and you can just go get access to the virtual machine. Technically you can do things what you do normally on a normal computer, but the good thing is now you don't need to maintain or manage anything on this virtual machine. Everything is managed by Microsoft Azure. So I mean, like, this is a shared responsibility. The data is your responsibility. The virtual machine and the infrastructure is Microsoft responsibility. So this is how you create a new virtual machine on Microsoft Azure, right? Yeah, what we can do is we can create one more virtual machine, and we can install Active Directory services on that, and we can join, and we can let people to work on Azure. So it is a complete virtual infrastructure. We can do various things. Pretty much what you do on the real world can be done on the Microsoft as well. So let's go back to the configuration here. So we can see now you can connect from here as well. If you wanted to just connect, you can click connect here, and you can pick RDP, so you don't need to go and do this RDP session, right? So these options are available. You can capture. So if you click on capture, you can see this is like creating an image to capture, so you can do that. So it has got all the options here, right? So hope you enjoy and understand what's Microsoft Azure, and I'm sure that we will learn more, right? Thanks for watching. Do subscribe to my channel Face It Net on YouTube. So I'll make sure I'll post more and more interesting videos and learning videos. Thanks for watching. Thanks. The services have started. I'm just going to click accept, and it's going to ask you to create or log into the virtual machine. So I'm now inside the first virtual machine, which is running on Microsoft Azure. You can see it got connected. I'm just going to pick it up. I'm just going to connect it here. Click on here, and you can just go to PowerShell. Maybe what you can do is we can install some PowerShell scripts here to configure this as maybe a web server, right? All right. So thanks for watching.